fight to get the objective of the scenario. This is Batman Gotham City Chronicles. What is it about?
In this video, we will show you an extended overview of the game so you can get a quick feel of the game flow and rules, or to give you a refresher on the rules. Coming up. Hi, it's Tarrant.
And Stella from Meeple University. We bring you a variety of quality board game videos.
In this video, we're going to show you what to expect from Batman Gotham City Chronicles, a game by Frédéric Henry and published by Monolith.
Let's get to the table.
Released in 2019 via Kickstarter, Batman Gotham City Chronicles is a scenario-driven tactical combat game designed by Frédéric Henry and published by Monolith. The game plays 2 to 4 players in a 1 versus many arrangement. It plays in 60 to 90 minutes and has medium complexity gameplay with medium to heavy complexity rules. The game, to a large extent, re-implements the mechanics of Monolith's earlier game, Conan. Each game of Batman Gotham City Chronicles is set up based on a scenario from the missions booklet, and each scenario will pit between 1 and 3 heroes up against a team of villains from the Batman universe. All villains are always controlled by a single human player using this board. Each hero has its own separate hero board, and all of the heroes can collectively be controlled by a single human player, or you can have a different human player controlling each of the heroes. This choice doesn't change any of the rules, as the play on the hero's side is fully cooperative. All scenarios are completely standalone with no hidden information, so nothing we're going to tell you in this video is a spoiler. Each scenario comes with an objective and a time limit. If the heroes can meet their objective before the time reaches the final round in this scenario, then they win the game. If the villains can prevent the heroes from doing this, then the villains win. The scenario booklet will also show you the initial setup for your scenario, any special rules for your scenario, the miniatures that the villain will have access to, and the different combinations of heroes that can be used in this scenario. For example, this scenario gives you 2 options for the first hero, 3 for the second, and 3 for the third, and you choose any one from each of those brackets. The game utilizes an action point allocation system, and there are 5 basic actions in the game which both sides will be doing. Movement, melee and ranged attack, and manipulation and thought, which covers all non-combat tasks like defusing bombs or hacking computers. Players can also spend action points to defend themselves when attacked, and to re-roll unfavourable dice. All actions in the game, except for movement, are resolved using a roll of coloured dice, with the number of successes rolled representing the number of hits landed in combat or the level of success in a manipulation or thought task. The colour of the dice roll depends on the character's proficiency in the skill, and darker dice will tend to roll more successes than lighter dice. For example, Batman rolls red dice in melee combat, while Catwoman rolls only yellow dice. But, as a thief, Catwoman can roll red dice for manipulation, while Batman rolls only orange. This gives different specializations to each character. Although the heroes and villains are performing the same sorts of actions, the manner in which they spend their action points is different. Each hero has 3 slots for action points: the reserve zone, the fatigue zone, and the wound zone. Cubes are moved from the reserve zone to an action space in order to take that action, and the hero can spend multiple cubes at once to make that action more powerful. Each hero may take up to as many actions in any given round as he or she can afford with the cubes in the reserve zone. At the start of the hero's next turn, any used cubes are moved into the fatigue zone. Then the hero regains some of them to the reserve zone based on this icon here. The hero will regain the lower number, usually either 2 or 3, every normal turn, or will regain the higher number, usually 5 or 6, if he or she rests and takes no actions on that turn. Each wound that a hero takes in battle will result in an action cube being moved to the wound zone, and this can later be returned to the fatigue zone by using one of these start of round recovery points. The villains have only two zones for action cubes, reserve and fatigue. Any cubes on these tracks are tracking life points, not action points. On his or her turn, the villain chooses a tile, pays action points equal to the number above that tile, moving them from reserve to fatigue, moves that tile to the highest position in his or her track, then activates all minis corresponding to that specific tile, taking any or all of the actions that that mini can take. You can see all of the same basic action items here, although any action which doesn't show a number of dice cubes next to it cannot be performed by that particular type of villain. The villain may activate up to 2 tiles in this manner in each round. The villain may also spend action points to gain extra movement points, extra defense points, or rerolls, but cannot spend extra cubes on one of these basic actions in order to make it more powerful in the same way that the heroes can. At the start of each villain turn, any expended cubes are moved to the fatigue zone, and then either 3 or 5 cubes, depending on which scenario you're using, are recovered in order for the next round to begin. For both players, actions have an exertion limit, which represents the maximum number of cubes which can be placed there in a single round. Each activated mini gets 1 free movement per round, and the number of movement points it gets is shown by this icon on a villain and this icon for a hero. The hero's movement points will reduce based on the total encumbrance of any items that that hero is carrying. Movement will cost a single movement point to go to an adjacent space, and will cost extra movement points for leaping over walls, leaping up to a higher elevation, leaving a difficult terrain, or leaving a space where the character is outnumbered by enemies. Both players can increase their number of movement points available by spending an action cube to get another set of points. Melee and ranged attacks are resolved by a roll of dice. Heroes roll dice based on the number of cubes that they've spent, as well as any bonus dice shown on any weapons that they're carrying. Villains roll dice based on any dice icons shown on their tile. Any dice showing this icon can be re-rolled once for free in the combat, and either player may re-roll a die in attack by spending a cube to the re-roll action. Any explosion icon is a success and scores a hit. The victim, regardless of which team he or she is on, may then defend by spending action points into the defense slot, once again in order to roll dice. Each success that is rolled mitigates 1 hit. All villains will also have some level of automatic defense. Players will only ever attack on their own turn and defend on their opponent's turn, and so it can be handy to hold a couple of cubes back to be able to spend them on defense. Heroes will lose 1 action cube to the wound zone for each hit suffered. Big name villains will lose a life point for each hit that they suffer, and the villains' nameless thugs and goons have only a single life point generally, and therefore their minis are just removed from the board when they're hit. Any ranged attacks require line of sight, gain an advantage if shot from a higher elevation, and are hindered if the victim is surrounded by other allies. Manipulation and thought are the actions often required to complete scenario objectives, and how you determine which dice to roll is done in exactly the same way as attack. Any complex manipulation or thought task will have a difficulty number representing the number of successes that the player has to roll in order to successfully complete it. Minis don't need to be alone to undertake these tasks, but they will be hindered if they aren't alone. As such, the menace index of any enemies in the same region, minus the menace index of any allies in the same region, is added to the difficulty of the manipulation or thought task. Certain simple manipulations or thoughts, such as picking up equipment, do not require the roll of a dice, but do cost a manipulation cube. Among the villain's tiles is the warning event tile, and when this is activated, which is done in the normal way, the villain will trigger an event specific to this scenario. Alternatively, this gives the villain the chance to bring new minis onto the map from the defined reinforcement points. These basic rules and actions define the majority of the game's play, but each individual scenario and character introduces great variety and replayability into the game. In particular, there are 50 different skills and traits represented by these icons, which give the characters a different specialization. Skill and trait icons are placed close to the action to which they correspond, and you can refer to the back of the rulebook for complete explanations on what each of them does. While all of these icons may be intimidating, the skills are critical to the balance of the game. The base game comes with 4 playboards, each of which shows its own terrains, elevation changes, and lines of sight. Players should refer to the back pages of the missions booklet for full details on the elevations, the heights of the different walls, and all the other details related to that board's movement restrictions.
And that's the overview of Batman Gotham City Chronicles. We hope that you enjoyed the video and we hope that it helps you.
If you'd like to see the components in some more detail, we have an unboxing video for this game, and you can check that out from the link in the description below.
If you enjoyed this video, please let us know by hitting the like button. Write your questions or feedback in the comment sections below. You can also join our Facebook group, Meeple University Community, to share your love of board games.
And finally, if you'd like to be among the first notified of what's new from Meeple University, please consider subscribing to our channel. You can click on the Meeple up in the corner to do so, and do hit the bell to be notified of our new videos.
Until next time!